most of the people. So, James Fleischner is a painter, starting at this wall of these pieces, except for the last piece on the right. And Larry's work is that piece on the wall and around the sides of the abstract and the figurative pieces. So, and those two pieces are Jane's. So I'd like to have them speak about their work and talk about their methodology and their vision and concept work. Whatever they'd like to say, it's an open mic. So are you okay?
Well, I'm old-fashioned and chivalry is okay. So.
All right then.
I'll ask you a question.
So I'm Jane Gilman Fleischner, and when Jonas was saying, do you want to do a show, it was right after, I have to be political, I'm sorry. It was right after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and I was like, yeah, because I had to do that piece on the end. Because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't say something, and that's why. And then I tried, the pieces I chose for this show are relevant in that they're either about examining the inside of oneself to be better, to reach out to other people, because if we don't do that, we just get crazy, I think. And to bring things out and to discuss them. And I had a really good discussion with a friend who's sort of on the other side of the issue, where we were able to meet in the middle when we realized we really weren't for the subject of abortion. We were for choice and for freedom. And we try to minimize damage to anybody at any stage in their life. But that's the main thing. Like we all want to be free. But you can't just be free and let other people not be free. And then that's about animals being extinct because of our actions. And then this one, no, I don't have to go by piece by piece.
If you would like to stand and demonstrate.
And I don't want to think, I've already told a few people, so I don't want to be boring, so I'll try to just say it.
That's okay.
So this means a lot to me because I have 3 kids. And it's about a mother who is reaching, you see the little house and everything, and then there's the world here. And when maybe a lot of people here are mothers or like mothers to people, and you're just trying to keep the bad things away. But you also want to help somebody out there too. So there's a little, I want to keep it away from you, but I can't look away completely from it. And it's like, Mom, there's always that tug of, you have to go back and do the dishes. You still have to think about more than yourself. And it's about, everybody's kid is going to have to deal with whatever you mess up. So it's called The Seeds of Peace. And basically, I got this feeling in these words that the seeds of peace have been sown, and there's nothing we can do about it. It may not be evident, it may not look like it's true, but I believe that it is, and that peace and love will be the winners in the end, even though we see a lot of terrible things. Trying to rise up and get over those things, and when, they're not going to. That's my opinion anyway. So that's what that one's about. And then this one relates to the justices as well. Just the young girls have targets on their backs, and they're defenseless. They always have.
We've always.
And now we've just made it easier to get to them. Easier. And so, yeah, it's not, it's you think you're done with bloody coat hangers, but unfortunately, no. And I'm sorry to be so graphic, but that's what it's about. And Bears Ears is a place in Utah which is sacred to Native Americans, and people can visit it. And it's sort of it's a little political too, in that it tends to shrink when someone who's a little more about exploiting the land, like someone like Trump, shrank it down a lot. And then, Obama had made it really big, and Biden put the land back. So we have to keep our eye on things, because when things seem to be going well, it's only a matter of time before they're threatened again, whatever they are. But we have to, all of us, I think probably most of the people here would like our land to be safe and our water to be clean, and even people who like to have uranium drilled would probably like nice water, but not just for themselves, it should be for the other people as well. So just that, kind of remember that you may be having a good moment, but don't go to sleep completely.
Jane, what's the one right behind you?
Oh, I'm sorry, and that's about Ukraine, that it sort of symbolizes a lot of the modern horrors, things like that. That, people who have a home, hopefully we have homes, and everyone should have a home, and they have to leave their homes because someone else decided they want their land, they want to take it over, that it's okay to do that. So that's, Holocaust, terrible and tragic and wrong. So that's Ukraine.
I have a crazy question. How do you think first or face first?
That's a good question. I usually feel and intuit and do a little thinking, sometimes not enough, and then I kind of start painting.
Okay.
And I don't usually draw anything first, I just kind of do it, which maybe you can tell. When I draw, I'm more precise, but when I paint, I just kind of go for it. Like my artist friend back there. Does anybody have any questions? I could mention the ones back there, but you can't see them.
Oh, they're back there.
Oh, sure we can.
But they have to do with just being the internal, life that we all live. What's going on inside that you don't see from a person.
Do you ever surprise yourself with the result?
Of the painting?
Yeah.
Usually. Usually do. Some of them I've had really distinct ideas of what I want to do, but it never comes out the way I started. Except the coat hanger one, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
That one I was like, I have to have the people, I want the couple to be having some fun, and I want it to be a little bit scary looking, a little bit.
Thomas is scary. He's very scary.
He's a very scary man.
It's pretty scary
Yeah, he's scary.
already.
Oh, and the sculpture.
Oh, thank you, Lee. The sculpture, you can't, it's a woman symbolizing Mother Nature and the power of women and all. She's green partly for the nature and partly because I didn't want it to be white, black, or anything. I wanted us all to be human. It's a human woman and nothing against men. It just happens to be about the power of women because it's sort of what's timely for the Roe v. Wade subject. Men completely deserve as much respect, and I'm not against men in any way, shape, or form. So I want to say that. But she is green because it's all women, and the different heads coming out of her are more women coming. You can stop one, you can stop 1,000, but you can't stop us. And it would be nice not to try to stop any women, but that's the symbols that there's no way you're going to win either. Same with the Seeds of Peace. You can try and you can create violence, but it would be really nice if people would do that. Kind of stop doing that. But we're there if you do. If there are enough people.
I like your passion. It's nice.
Is your work always politically motivated, or is it just the particular work in this show? But I mean, is any given piece that you invest yourself in something that you feel has some kind of connection to your politics and your beliefs? Or do you just sometimes paint things just for beauty and, not?
Yes, I did a lot of painting just for beauty, and a lot of nature, flowers, and outside, and different parts of the U.S. that I've traveled to. But I guess when things have kind of nudged me, that's when I have to give it a little moment, inside or outside.
It would seem it'd be good if you'd write about it as well as paint it, because that gives people a whole next, like to look at the painting is one thing, but when you spoke about it, it takes it a whole other step. And so I think that if there was some written, I don't mean this moment, but some of these things that you're saying would be nice if they were written.
A little more. They're tiny little blurbs that, thanks to Jonas, they're up there.
But you could always get Jonas to write it.
Yeah, write a longer explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to say, I thought your blurbs are a masterpiece. I love them, and I'm a writer.
Ah, thank you. Nicely printed them all up. Did a lot of work for us, and we appreciate it.
Please help yourself to the narratives and the list of titles and everything. So, in terms of your art overall, can you talk a little bit more about your long-term visions of all your whole line of work that you've done in terms of
What has served
artistic?
come to
Yeah.
the day?
How
I think,
has it evolved?
I think first I would just paint whatever I wanted to paint. It could be, like in art school, it would be, people that I knew and flowers, anything, pretty much anything, a lot of people. And I think over time I met a gallery person, and he said, you need a body of work. So I focused on nature for a while because I love nature. And that was, I chose it. He didn't say what to do, but I thought I will choose that because I love nature. And then I think after that's sort of the nature, you do something for a while and you want to change a little bit. and I started having these sort of ideas of things I wanted to do that were either internal landscape kind of things, or external, like the Bears Ears. And in between, you know, I've taken trips to Utah where my son is or has been. And I've just, I love the beauty of the earth, so that's always going to be part of it. I'm trying to get better at, you know, expressing it in all the different ways.
That's what I was talking about, your sense of visionary landscape, what you do. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
But your more recent work is
There's some good
more
examples here.
political. It's just-
It has, sorry, yeah.
Street scenes also that have done.
And the street scenes as well. But it has become more political. I was never overtly political until recently, I guess, maybe. But the internal landscapes came first, I think. The internal ones, and then the outside, I guess, you know, I heard myself before I heard, it's like I was maybe trying to keep it back or not express it. Because I also don't think, sometimes it's hard to express something that's going on without using it to your advantage. And I didn't want to use it to my advantage. I wanted to, it had to be a feeling I really had.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, I'm going to appropriate this thing that's going on. That doesn't sound true.
You wanted to express.
It has to be a true feeling, or else it's not, you can't, it doesn't seem like it's real. It's not good to do it for me, so I don't like it. So that's why. It took a while to get there, I guess.
Exciting use of color as well. That's, in terms of yellows, greens, blue, and muted colors.
Do you like color?
Do you work, like each piece is an individual thought or feeling that you want to express, or do you work in series? Like, do you do a series? Like, would you do
That's
a
great
series?
questions.
Would you do a series of coat hanger painting? You know, that's not really a painting, a
But I-
assemblage or whatever, or
Yeah.
a series of the woman, the child woman, and her looking out. I don't know, just that.
Mhm.
Or does each one sort of come to you? You express it, and then you move on to whatever your next idea would be.
I have, but the series, like they're sort of a series that you can't necessarily pinpoint. Like the internal landscapes are sort of psychological things that they don't look like they're necessarily connected, but they are. But then that first Justice one and this one are a series.
Right.
And there's another one I have in my head that's like a robe. I almost wore the robe, but a robe that has another one of those coat hangers on it. And on the back it says "Impeach us, Queen or Liars." Just sort of a little statement piece like that.
Right.
So I guess, and I did a series of goats recently that symbolize sort of the path that a person is on. I did about 6 of those goat paintings. So yes, I guess I do series. But not always intentionally
Right.
at the beginning. They kind of happen. But yeah, series.
I think Jane did perhaps suggested that I talk about the concept of series as a jumping off point. What would you call that? Segue? Yes, one piece never sums up or satisfies me in terms of what I wanted to say altogether. It takes, and maybe that's a fault. Maybe I should be more concise with one piece. Maybe I should endeavor to sum up my passion or thoughts about a given subject in one piece. But to me, as I contemplate that thought, it doesn't sound like as much fun as doing a bunch of them along those lines. But and then perhaps having a proliferation of several pieces along the same subject, addressing the same subject, expressing your view on the same subject, on a subject, then increases the chance that the word will get out, and more people will hear your voice and contemplate what your perspective on the issue. So yes, so series. I'm deeply engaged in the BMR, Black Men Reading series presently. Yeah, and the energy, well, the need for it, for the subject, I think, and the inherent energy that is realized in that issue alone demands just do as many of them as you can. I realize, I guess after the fact, the uniqueness of the concept and the imagery in our society, which floors me. I can't recall seeing a black man reading on a poster or a billboard or on TV or in a movie or anywhere in our society. As though, so I'm not going to place the blame of that fact on anyone's doorstep. I'm just going to take the responsibility to provide those images to the world. And so, yes, a series then is called for. So, and that came about, it's interesting. You said something which sounded as though you were speaking for me, or that we were having a real conversation, in that it became necessary for me to, okay, let's just say, I want to get to the fact, the point you made, that these heartfelt, deep impulses, these passions, are void of or apart from any contrivances. The two are just, the two concepts are at polar ends of how we understand words and what they mean to us. I wanted to be an artist activist for a while. And it's like, so what are you going to say? How are you going to be an activist? What kind of paintings are you going to paint? And it's like, gee, okay, anything I would come up with would certainly seem contrived. Because it was like, okay, this answer will fit the need. But as I don't have to tell you or any other artist present or not, that these impulses and which result in something that means anything comes from somewhere that's much deeper than just a logical thought. And as a result of what's going on today in our world, as along the same lines as the Ukraine, the absurdity of Clarence Thomas, I asked myself, what can you do to say about that? What can you produce to say something to address that? And it occurred to me, it happened in a very, and I want to share this with you. It's not the usual desire to find the silver lining in the cloud or to make lemonade out of lemons. I needed more than that to assuage myself or to of the prior administration and what it meant and its effects today. And I come up with, for myself, well, it's shaken us out of our complacency. It's brought to light realities and truths that we, with perhaps the Obama administration, the 8 years, had forgotten or had had us wanting desperately to convince ourselves that, okay, we got over that hurdle, now let's get on to the 21st century, let's get on to the humanity of us all. And the prior administration gave us another thought to deal with. And so for me, it was, how does one best come to that conclusion, come to understand my perspective? Because we wouldn't get that from TV, we wouldn't get that from general media or the sources we would typically look to be able to say, well, it's a good thing that Trump came along because we'd be in a dream had he not. It comes from reading, and I know profoundly that the insights and a sense of direction, a sense of what can I do next with myself, being a black man in America, do. And one answer to coming up with a viable plan is to have some sense of history. And once we realized that it was against the law to teach a black man to read, it's just unthinkable. And along those, not necessarily along those lines, but this is an opportunity for me to say, because I had to get over this, the reality of people who were kidnapped, the kidnapped people being treated so poorly in this society. It destroys me. Just basically, on a human level. Who does that to a group who's...
I'm sorry, I just don't understand. I really don't.
You don't understand the fact that black people were kidnapped from Africa.
I do.
So then how can we be then in the position we are right now? It would seem to me, and not necessarily in a perfect world either, black folks should have been, it seems to me, if we're consistent with our being America and all that we learn in school, it's to represent and stand for, and its principles and its ideals. Black people should, way long ago, should be lifted up and used, not used, but forward, but provided to the world a sense of this is how you right a wrong that's been perpetrated on a group. Lift it up and celebrate it for the strength of survival and the unbelievable display of love you see that pours from black artists, singers, the musicians. And so to deal with that perplexed state, I turn my steering wheel towards sources in literature, which will give me some sense of how things got to be the way they are. And at the same time, then, after all said and done, I understand and you mentioned in one of your pieces how we're talking about a party, a element in our society which is on its last throes and is hearing its death knell and is using every possible facility within the law to extends itself, and I don't hear that in the media. I don't hear things like that in the general media, or places, I won't drop names, other places where I might. It's only realized as a result of delving into the history of our culture and deriving a sense of, no wonder. And I guess, bottom line, I have to say, 1%ers, there's circumstance and status quo relies very much on things remaining the way they were, so how do you correct it? And until because it's going to be on us as people with half a brain to come together and change things. But in the meantime, my very feeble attempt to do just that is to paint pictures of black men reading.
We were saying to us that there has been like a stratified view of reality for centuries and millennia, and we're just beginning to break out of that view, and it's been in everything. This is the problem, and you know, for years and centuries, you could be burned at the stake for arguing against all the planets going around the Earth and the whole universe, because we were the center of everything. And the vision was that because man was essentially evil, that therefore because the Earth was the fire and the hell at the beginning, the center of the Earth. So that was essentially the core in that vision. And that's the flaw of that thinking, to think that man is inherently evil. This is what we've been suffering against for centuries, because that just allows anything to happen. You know, if you go with the dark side and the dark force, then you can steal all the secrets and kill all the people in Ukraine that you want. You can get away with it.
Individual babies would be born into a world where that was the view, was the belief. And so how then do you break out of that and discover
We have some questions.
a higher reality?
Ellen?
I don't know what the person who started to ask the question was saying, that they don't understand. I don't know the end of that.
If I wasn't clear, or if I was confusing about any given
No, but
aspect of what I was saying, sorry about that.
what I would ask her to sum it up is just, knowledge is power. It's like it's that simple, 3 words, you know, knowledge is power.
Knowledge.
And however you came to the series, that's kind of the conclusion. So I don't know what else there is to understand besides that knowledge is power.
And thus the laws which were in place for
Right.
much of our
Prevented
history.
people from having
So
knowledge
prevent
or
people from
power.
having knowledge, thus power.
And so the greatest, I know when I read the biography of Richard Wright, he thought a lot about words as weapons, and I think Langston Hughes did as well, using words as weapons. More effective, you know, really than any, like guns or anything else. So the gateway, you know, reading is like the gateway to everything. I don't know, that's how I'm just kind of asking, is that right?
I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so if I talk about my youth, we're talking about a long time ago. One might say, well, a lot's changed since then. But I had teachers which hindered my development as a reading. I subsequently, I became an art teacher, and in the course of that, had to realize teacher strategies, the responsibility of the teacher to research or be the master of the material they present to children, this, that, and the other. But it led me to a startling realization